Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Shotgun Wrestling Radio. We are now officially on the countdown to Central Empire Wrestling Bridge City Slam, one of my favorite events of the year. It's so much fun. I wanted to do something extra special this year. That's why I know the calendar says April 10th, but that still puts us at 50 something days away. I was talking to Austin the other day. I'm like, dude, you realize we're like 50 days away from Bridge City, right? And even he's kind of said, wow, holy crap. And as you can tell from my guest here this evening, this person could be called Mr. Bridge City Slam just because of all the epic moments you've had at every Bridge City Slam since the very first one. And you're looking to have another big one coming up here in June as we have a huge steel cage triple threat match for the CEW title. And of course, JT Energy, the longest reigning Central Empire Wrestling champion. JT, my man, how are you? It's great to have you back, my friend.
Man, what an intro. It gets better every time. The longer I keep these championships, where I have an opportunity to have these accolades associated with my name, it's just one epic entrance after another from all these awesome podcasters, especially you with Shotgun Wrestling Radio, who's been such a great friend for so long at this point that I'm feeling real good. I'm very excited to talk about Central Empire Wrestling and Bridge City Slam and what's going to transpire in, like you said, just right around 50 days now.
Yeah, like I said, you've really been a big part of Bridge City Slam since Austin first started this. We're going on the number 4 right now. We're going on the 4th Bridge City Slam.
Are we at 5? So hold on, let's do it this way.
Yeah.
So I win the tag team championships. Bridge City Slam 1, Bridge City Slam 2. We have Jerry the King Lawler.
Yep.
Bridge City Slam 3. We have Eric Rowan or Eric Redbeard.
So
Bridge City
and then
Slam
last year
4,
was Trevor Murdoch.
But yeah, Bridge City Slam 5. Triple threat cage match for the main event.
Holy shit, we're already at 5 Bridge City Slams, man. That's crazy. So for people who aren't too familiar, like how did you become, and you've been a central part of CEW for a long time. You've been tag team champion multiple times. Now, obviously, the longest reigning champion there. How did you first get involved with Central Empire and how your connection there with Mr. Bayless over there?
So my initial interaction with Central Empire Wrestling is such a wild story because when it comes to being a professional wrestler, you need to market yourself and hopefully sometimes be in the right place at the right time. So I had heard about Central Empire Wrestling, let's say 2016, 2017, within that first year that I was getting my start within the professional wrestling business, especially right here in Iowa. And I knew of CEW, but I didn't quite grasp it as what it would become. I had no idea where we'd be today. And one of the things that I saw that I didn't see other places doing or utilizing at the time is Austin had started to utilize Facebook Live for the time period where Rory Fox was in one of Austin's favorite time periods in Central Empire Wrestling with the hashtag not my champion.
Yep.
Which to this day he feels is like one of his absolute favorite Central Empire Wrestling moments. And I got to kind of watch that from the outside. I wasn't deep in it when that was at its peak, but where I was watching was on Facebook Live one night. And I was I feel like I was maybe even like at the gym or something. Like I just got done with a workout, saw Central Empire Wrestling was live on Facebook, popped it up, and I was listening to them. And because one of the things that you have to remember is like when you're asking or thinking about working for a company, like you should be very familiar with like what's going on as far as some of their stories that they have going on. You shouldn't just necessarily say, hey, I want to work for you. And then if someone says why or who would you wrestle, you can't be like, I don't know. And I was sitting there listening to these stories about Rory Fox, and we had Tim Rhodes in there, and it was just going back and forth. And when they were talking about some stuff on the live, all I wrote was, "Hey, this is JT Energy. I love to bring the filth to Central Empire Wrestling someday." And the comments were rolling in there on the screen, and Austin said, "Looks like we have JT Energy here, DJ Click and Play, saying that he'd like to come to Central Empire Wrestling someday. You know what? Hit me up, JT. I'd love to have you sometime. Let's make it happen." And when I heard him say that on the Facebook Live, I was like, wow, that was easy. He saw me. And it sounded like he even might have like known who I was. And before I know it, a couple years ago, I think it was the anniversary show when it just popped up on my little memories not too long ago. Storm Thomas, or Tony Storm at the time, he apparently was going to wrestle someone, and that person had canceled. So Austin reached out to me and said, "Hey, I'd love to have you come in and wrestle Storm for me. Would you like to do that?" And of course I said, absolutely. I'd love to make a first impression on a new place. And lo and behold, here I come in. I have a match with Storm. Storm tells Austin, thumbs up, kid's great. I love what we did out there. And then from that point forward, it was like, come back and come back. And then we just started rolling with my relationship with Central Empire Wrestling. And I tend to be a very loyal person to the places that I wrestle at, or the people that give me opportunities to wrestle. And once I realized that Austin saw a vision with me, and I felt just as strong a connection as how he perceived what he wanted, I was all in on a lot of the stuff that Central Empire Wrestling was doing. And now, X amount of years later, I have all these wonderful accolades and opportunities and accomplishments that I've had in Central Empire Wrestling. So you never know when it comes to being a pro wrestler. It could be something as simple as Facebook Live, Instagram Live, Twitter Spaces. Always keep your eyes and ears open for people that are running pro wrestling shows, because you never know who you're going to meet or when you're going to meet them.
And it's kind of funny you bring up that first match there with Storm and then cycle back here to the show that we had last month, and Storm's first match back, he wrestles this epic, like basically almost hour-long battle royal after not wrestling for, I think he said 9 months, and then turns around and does probably another 20 to 30 minutes with you. Like, that was one of the craziest things I've seen as a fan and as a wrestling commentator, was just to see somebody like him be able to do that. Like, your first match back, and I about wanted to slap Austin and be like, dude, you're making him go an hour and a half in his first match back. Like, wow, what a kind of a full circle moment there for you two, with a chance to go on to Bridge City Slam.
Yeah, it was quite the moment. And when I got to the venue that day, and I realized maybe how the night was going to look or maybe transpire, we'll always leave it to Storm to push things to the sky and go to the absolute limit every single time, no matter the circumstance. And he was one of the only people in Central Empire Wrestling that I had never held a victory over. So for us to be able to have that match that night, and him give everything he could in that first match back, and then say such kind words after the match was over, it meant a lot when it came down to it. So I was very happy, because being in the building the night that him and Austin had his retirement match,
Yep.
and just seeing how much he put into that, and how much he even got out of Austin within that match, and the story that he wanted to tell there. And then, of course, coming back, the story he wants to make sure that the Central Empire Wrestling fans get. That's part of why I love seeing him in or around Central Empire Wrestling, even if it's not every event. But he makes sure that if he's on a show, that the show maximizes its potential with the stories it's going to tell and the matches that the fans are going to get for the small amount of money that we ask out of them. And I think that's one of the reasons that Central Empire Wrestling has such a loyal fan base, is because they get such good content delivered to them every single show they pay for. And, we just try to repay them. And that match with Storm, I mean, once I saw Clint Dye's pictures, I just sat back and flipped through that album over and over. And I watched myself in that Spinebuster picture. It brought back memories from 2017 when I took the Spinebuster for the first time.
Well, and the other cool thing too is, it was also announced on that night that Storm is going to be one of the next inductees into the CEW Hall of Fame. So now you can say, hey, I have a victory over, a CEW Hall of Famer, which is another cool accolade to add to it. You've been like I said, you've been with Central Empire Wrestling a long time, and that's one thing I really, me being a Central Empire Wrestling fan and somebody that's been going to shows, I love that. I love that Austin kind of has his core group of guys that he really trusts and he really likes to bring back. Is there anybody in the back right now that you're seeing kind of come in? We've seen some new guys come in. Obviously, your Damian Saint's kind of a newer guy that's come in. You've had tag team experience with him. Are there any newer guys that you've seen come in that you would just love to get in there and mix it up with that you really haven't yet, that you have your eye on?
I mean, being Damian Saint was a former tag team partner of mine, and we had a nice little thing going. He has he came back out of nowhere at the last show, and I think he already kind of made his intentions known based on the interactions that he had out there in the Battle Royal. But there are still a lot of regulars at Central Empire Wrestling that I've never touched or I've maybe only had one encounter with. And so even when I think about who I want to face, it's not even at this point who I want to face. It's who do I want to like dig some time into and tell some stories with. Because that's where I feel like we've got a lot of bread and butter out of JT Energy over the years. If you think back to some of the first stuff that I did with the Buns of Steel, when I was, we had Central Empire Wrestling made the Battle of the Booties very infamous a couple of years ago, and we had some really killer matches back and forth. Fowler really pushed me in those matches, and I think kind of helped level me up with the performer that I was. And I've had a lot of really good time where me and Rory Fox had some really killer matches across a couple different promotions, but at the same time, everything was storytelling in those aspects. But it's a lot of those people I feel like I've only wrestled a couple times, and it's one of those things where when you see on the larger scale, you see like Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins have these epic set of 3 matches, and that's kind of one of those things where if I have a chance to sink my teeth into a really good opponent, and the way that Central Empire Wrestling likes to line things up, coming out of Bridge City Slam, whoever walks away with that Central Empire Wrestling title, maybe whoever that number 1 contender is for me, maybe we can have a not a 2 out of 3 falls match, but maybe a best of 3 series when it comes to Central Empire Wrestling. So that way, when you come out and watch a CEW show, you can witness the build to maybe a climax with a story on someone I can tell. So that way, over time, we get a chance to work together and see what kind of chemistry we really have with someone that's still up and coming, like, maybe Damian Saint or Rip Studwell, or maybe a seasoned veteran where I get in there with Donnie Pepper Cricket or the Iceman or Kurt Gannon.
And you mentioned Jay Fowler, and you guys do have some history together, and I had brought it up on a couple other podcasts here. It seems that Fowler's been doing a lot of belt collecting lately, man, and he just happens to be one of your opponents here at Bridge City Slam. You yourself are a belt collector as well, so I don't want to muddle this down and say you're not a belt collector yourself, because you got titles in other promotions as well. And me personally, I love that. I love seeing you guys go over places and keep winning titles. Yeah, you can coin phrase the belt collector. It's just such a cool title to have. And your other opponent that you also have is Niles Plunkett, who is another veteran in the business. He's been around, I want to say, ever since I've been going to shows since 2005. I mean, that dude's been talk about a guy that's really kept himself in some amazing shape over the years, and he's not going to be no slouch either. I mean, you got two really veterans of the business here, and then you add the element of a steel cage. I can't wait for this one, man.
There is there's a lot of variables that's going into this main event. And I think over the last couple of years, when people have come out to Bridge City Slam and they have watched JT Energy matches, they've been excited for the spectacle, but I don't know if their suspension of disbelief has been taken to its full potential. But this year, with this historic championship reign coming to a head in a main event at Bridge City Slam 5, where not only is it going to be a triple threat where my odds go down, because I, again, like everybody loves to tell the story, the champion does not have to be pinned or submitted to lose that championship. But if I was Jay Fowler or I was Niles Blanquet, I wouldn't want to end a historic championship reign by not pinning the champion. I wouldn't want to walk away with my head held high saying that I beat the guy that wasn't the champion for over 1,000 days. So it feels like I have two people gunning for me at the same time, which is already the worst scenario. When you have a veteran like Niles and you have a veteran who has completely revamped his career like Fowler. And like you said, I watch both of those guys when it comes to social media. I know exactly what goes on and whether they stay ready, how they stay ready, how they train, the things that they talk about. I keep my eye locked on all that stuff. And I know a lot of people will say, like, you know some of my tricks, but you don't know all of my tricks. But being 7 years into professional wrestling, I'm the least experienced one in this match, but the accolades I think I've pulled along the way and the things I've done to get where I am today, I think that I may have a thing or two up my sleeve when it comes to making sure that if I want to be called Mr. Bridge City Slam and I want to stay Mr. Bridge City Slam, you're not going to take that one away from me easily. That's Shawn Michaels being Mr. WrestleMania just about kills himself every single time he was on that card. And that's what JT Energy has to do this year. He has to make sure that those fans believe that JT Energy can stay the Central Empire Wrestling champion.
Yeah, like I said, you are Mr. Bridge City Slam just for all the epic moments that you have. Again, it still blows my mind that we're already at 5 because I do remember being at that first show and doing commentary on that one. Yeah, it just blows my mind that here we are already at Bridge City Slam 5. With that said, man, like I said, you've had a lot of great moments. Is there one that stands out for you more than others? You've had some really, really good and some maybe not so good, but at the same time, your 15-year-old self might have been smiling deep down inside for and I think you could probably tell where I'm going here because you have had some pretty fun
Yeah.
moments at Bridge City, my friend.
I've been lucky enough that I'm sitting here at number 5, and one of the things that Austin knows about me is I went to him a long time ago and I said, you are able to give and create such special moments, and I don't know if you realize that, but one of the things that I chase in pro wrestling is first. I love to have firsts in pro wrestling, and he knows that. So coming into any of these big matchups, Austin it's almost like he's always cooking. Like, what am I gonna serve up to JT Energy this time? And let's see if he knocks it out of the park or not. So that first tag team championship in Central Empire Wrestling, it comes at Bridge City Slam. At the event where Trevor Murdoch didn't even wrestle, but he was in the building. That was that first night that he got a chance to watch JT Energy perform. Not necessarily be in the ring with me, but watch me from afar and watch me succeed as the tag team champion that night. But in between that first one, where we were only half the size in that first show, And then we expanded it the next year
Yep.
into what Bridge City Slam 2 set the precedent for. That was the one that kind of set everything in motion. By the time that I walked into Bridge City Slam 2, I feel like at Bridge City Slam 2, I feel how Jay Fowler feels now. Jay Fowler, when he walks around, he is strutting his stuff. He feels like he is the absolute man when it comes to wrestling, physical appearance. That's how I felt at Bridge City Slam 2. I felt untouchable. And when I realized that I was going to face Jerry the King Lawler, man, that's the moment where I'm like, I didn't realize something like this could happen in my life. And everything surrounding that time period was just as wild, because that was when I had my singles match on Raw. Jerry the King Lawler was the announcer for my match on Raw. Then I wrestled him just within weeks on my birthday that year. It was the pinnacle of everything falling in place. And I thought to myself, I'm like, I don't know how we top this. And then when, unfortunately, the WWE releases happen and Eric Rowan is no longer Eric Rowan, he's now Eric Redbeard on the independent circuit. And we bring him in, and this man is facing off against the guy that he had his match with on Monday Night Raw. If you would have told me I was going to be able to have an opportunity to get my loss back and steal a victory and involve my fiance in the match, oh my God, are you kidding me? But here we go. We have an epic moment at Bridge City Slam 3 and have this, because I think a lot of people are like, I don't know what's going to happen, but let's just sit back. And I tried to deliver, and I think we did that night. And then we roll into Bridge City Slam 4. And during that wild time of Bridge City Slam 4, Bridge City Slam 4 was so up in the air. We were juggling stuff left and right all year because we thought we had Rory Fox versus Matt Cardona. And it was, what in the world's going on here? And then we have Matt Cardona go down. What are we going to do? And then we have Rory Fox go down. What are we going to do? Or vice versa. I think Rory got hurt. And then when Rory got hurt, then I had no idea what was going to happen. And then Cardona got hurt. So it came down to the fact of, okay, it's not necessarily about Cardona and Fox anymore. Now it's about Energy and Murdoch. And so we got a lot of limelight put on us. But Bridge City Slam 4 was wild because that was the night where that real piece of crap that had been walking around for, 800, 900 days with the CEW championship, JT Energy, he did something a little different that night. And Trevor Murdoch walked in to Ottumwa running his mouth. And when he started to run his mouth, that crowd, they didn't know what was going on. They were very taken aback. And then when JT Energy stood up for him as their champion, I think the crowd realized, I think we're seeing a guy turn over a new leaf. I think we're seeing a guy that is heart and soul Central Empire Wrestling. I think he wants to proudly represent us. And that's where Bridge City Slam 4 ended, with me saying, I'm not a good guy. I'm not a bad guy. I am the guy, and I am your Central Empire Wrestling champion. And from that moment forward, walking into Bridge City Slam 5, a new form, a new transition. We are solving this mystery that has been looming for a while. Maybe JT Energy being Central Empire Wrestling champion at Bridge City Slam 5 and walking out Bridge City Slam 5 still champion. Maybe that's the mystery that I've been waiting to solve this whole time. Maybe I'm trying to figure out if I really can be the guy and keep pushing this title reign even farther. I'm walking around the Midwest like I'm the Roman Reigns around here.
Now, we don't got much time left here. I do want to give you a chance here while we have some time. Again, you got Jay Fowler, you got Niles Plunkett, Steel Cage, Saturday, June the 3rd, Ottumwa, Iowa. Tickets on sale now. Head over to Central Empire Wrestling Facebook page for more information on that. I'm going to give you free reign, man. Go ahead, cut a promo, do what you need to. Tell these guys how you are going to handle this big matchup.
We are about to make history at Bridge City Slam 5. Myself, Jay Fowler, and Niles Plunkett, two veterans of the independent scene in the Midwest. And while you have been hanging around, collecting belts, drinking wine, getting more seasoned, being TV ready, JT Energy has continued to run Central Empire Wrestling, continued to build Central Empire Wrestling as the champion when it comes to Iowa independent professional wrestling. For years, I have waited to have a moment that people will talk about forever. And I've done a pretty good job so far, but pretty good doesn't get the job done. And when I have the abilities of Jay Fowler and the experience of Niles Plunkett mixed with the energy that JT Energy brings, I think we have a recipe for a match that will be talked about for years and years to come. So, gentlemen, I say bring your A game. No, bring your A+ game. And let's make sure that the Central Empire Wrestling fans get everything they've ever wished for and then some. Let's put that cherry on top, and let's see if either one of you can knock me off that pedestal and attain the top of the Central Empire Wrestling mountain that I currently sit atop.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen, from the man himself, JT Energy. Again, this is all going down Saturday, June the 3rd, Ottumwa, Iowa, Bridge City Slam, Central Empire Wrestling. Head over to the Facebook page for more information. We're going to be back here later this week with another countdown to Bridge City Slam episode as well. So keep your eye on that. And until next time, we'll see you right here on the World Wide Web.